We've been to 37 countries together, and we hit 50 states by the end of 2024. So like, it's been a journey.
We can live where we want, we can travel where we want, like we can work where we want, and it's just like, it's really cool.
Watching the sunrise in Cappadocia with like the hot air balloons taking over.
Hey y'all, welcome back to City Limitless. I'm your host, Ashley, and in honor of National Plan a Vacation Day, I'm so excited to have some Mesa locals, but not only that, content creators, Jordyn and JT, or maybe better known as Mobile Homie. If some of your followers are listening, that's how they would know you guys, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, well, welcome. We're so excited to have you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
So you both have just wrapped up a ton of travels.
Yes, we have.
Before we get into that, I want to get into how you guys met because you're both not from Arizona, and it's always just fun to figure out why people do come here. Typically, it starts with a visit and then ends up in a permanent residency. So Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we actually met up at NAU. My whole family moved to Mesa when I was maybe 17. And I had the option of either moving to Mesa 2 or going to school back in North Carolina. So I opted for Mesa. I went to Mesa Community College for, I think, like 6 months. And then I went up to NAU, and that's where we met.
Yeah, because I was, so I grew up in Illinois. And then after first through sixth grade, my family moved to Arizona. We lived up in Scottsdale. And I honestly just like stayed in that little bubble and never really like moved around there. But then eventually I found NAU, made it home.
Wow. Now, how can you compare NAU area to Mesa? I mean, there's a little bit of a comparison, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest comparison is the small town vibes. Like literally like NAU having like a downtown and having that like community centric mindset up there. Like everyone knows each other. Everyone's willing to help each other out. Like the same thing comes down to Mesa, and that's unlike anywhere else in the valley. Like literally like the valley, it feels like you just like don't have that community. But when we came to Mesa, the people are so nice. The community is there. Like it is so awesome.
You found your community
Yeah.
home
Literally.
away from home,
Yeah.
essentially.
Literally.
100%.
Now tell me, you guys did not go to school for content creation. You didn't go to school for social media. You're over 40,000 followers on Instagram. You are racking up the followers on TikTok. Please, like, tell me the story of Mobile Homie.
Well, when we graduated college, we decided to build a bus.
Really?
Yeah. So we had no idea what we wanted to do after school. And that was, like around COVID time. And so we could have either gotten full-time jobs right away or done something a little more unconventional. And that was when van life was huge. And we wanted to buy a van, but we did not have the money to buy a van. So we bought a shuttle bus from an old folks home up north, and we converted it into an RV. And we traveled for like 6 months.
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
Like we found, that's like where it really kicked off. Like that's where we found our love for travel, like together. Because before we would do like a California weekend trip, like for spring break or something like that.
Yeah.
But once we did that trip, we were living in like 100 square foot like bus together. We were just like roughing it and just living life. And we were like, okay, like this is awesome. But then we realized, okay, like $300 worth of gas is not awesome. This is not going to be sustainable. And that's kind of where the idea of, wait, what if we turn this into like a business where we could actually have a travel like membership or travel like creator.
Yeah, I mean, these were the days before Instagram Reels. Like TikTok was new, like it just wasn't really an explored space at the time. And so the possibilities were so endless. We had no idea what we wanted to do with it. And I mean, we did sit on it for a little bit because then we came back and we got jobs for like a year or so. Yeah, I know.
One of those things.
Well, he had a full-time job until last summer. For me, I had a full-time job for maybe like a year and a half, I guess. So, okay, it was a little bit of time. At that point, I started doing the Mobile Homie. So I started just on TikTok, just sharing like tips and tricks about travel, just because, well, one, we like to travel, but two, like if anybody ever wanted a cheap flight, like I was always the person they would call. That was just like a thing with my friends because I liked finding cheap flights. I kind of just was like, how can I start a business with this? Like, how can we make money off of this? And eventually, like, Reels really started picking up. We did get quite a few followers, but we really started trying to figure out how to monetize it. And then once we did, I quit my job. He was still working his full-time job, but I was doing the mobile homie full time. And then fast forward to summer of 2024, he ended up getting laid off from his job, and we decided to do this both full time.
Oh my gosh. Now, tell me what role each of you plays in mobile homie, because JT, I've watched you. You're starting to get some FaceTime a little more. You're getting that personality.
Thank you. Yes, literally. My role is like I'm head of growth. Like that's my number one goal. Just like growing the Instagram, growing the channels, finding ways to monetize, just finding ways to grow the account. And then Jordyn's basically in charge of everything else business wise. Like the business mind on her it's there, it's nuts, and rock star. Yeah.
It's all the back end stuff he doesn't want to do.
Touché.
Yeah, that too. That too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we split things pretty 50-50. We both know our roles pretty well. We always have to come back and redefine our roles because it's always it's like, what are my jobs? What are my jobs?
Yeah.
And we're pretty good about that, I'd say. But I mean, things are always changing. So we really have to always adapt to what we're trying to do. But yeah.
What have been some struggles that you guys have encountered being on a social media platform, running a business from that standpoint? Because trends are come and go, you know, the American lifestyle, everything now, not tomorrow. How do you guys stay on top of that stuff?
Everything ebbs and flows. And I think that's really hard for any content creator because, you know, you can have 100,000 followers, but it just is so different every week because some weeks we have like crazy highs and some weeks we have crazy lows. Like it really just depends. But I would say the biggest struggle is like in a regular job, you would have a typical paycheck and like we make our own paycheck. Like if we stop working, we stop getting paid.
Yeah.
And I think even so, like the work we put in, like how hard we work doesn't always equate to how well we get paid. And so that's something that we've really struggled with in the past. Sometimes we'd be working like 10, 15-hour days and it was like, what did I even do today?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think now we have it pretty streamlined and we really know like what we can do to make money, but also what we can do to bring value and education to our audience and just kind of share what we're passionate about, but also like what can help our audience as well.
Now, like you guys said, you're content creators. What have been some of the highs that you guys have experienced? I mean, outside of travel, obviously that is just a once in a lifetime
Absolutely.
goal, huge, right? But what are some like real highs that you guys didn't ever think you were going to experience, but because of what you do, you have got to experience?
There's been a lot.
Lay them on us.
I know you have some.
Yeah, definitely. I think of a few that like come straight to my mind. One of them was watching the sunrise in Cappadocia with like the hot air balloons taking over. It was absolutely unreal. Same thing in that same city. We had an experience where we paid like $15 and we were able to go on like a horseback ride through all of these caves. Like, oh my gosh, it was unreal. And then it comes down to just like the little moments too. I think that's the biggest thing we've come to realize is like we were in Japan and we just went to like a dive restaurant, had some gyoza, and it was the best experience of our lives. Like one of the best like moments we've had together and like just being able to share those small moments, but also live up to those big ones as well. We've been to 37 countries together and we hit 50 states by the end of 2024. So like it's been a journey.
Wow. Jordyn, what about you?
I think for us, or for me, I should say, probably just being able to have the freedom to do what we would like to do. I like it sounds really simple in that way, but I know that before when we were both working jobs, we were very limited on what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really cool that like we could make our own schedule to literally do whatever we want. And I think that opened up a lot for us, like even in the way of content creation, but also in the way of like we can live where we want, we can travel where we want, like we can work where we want. And it's just like, it's really cool. Like even getting to go up to Flagstaff or just to ski for a little bit or even go out into the superstitions and go paddleboarding like in the middle of the day. Like it's cool that we can do that. Whereas we would never have been able to do that before.
With a typical 9 to 5, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like for us, like that was always, it just seemed so far-fetched and so out there. And like, it's so cool that we've been able to achieve that.
Absolutely. Now tell us about your travels that you guys had done in 2024 because there was a huge summer road trip.
Yes.
Tell me about it. Like, again, that's, you know, another dream so many people have, but you guys are living it and you're sharing it. Tell me about that.
Yes.
Tell me about the planning portion too, because that's not just something you pick up and get in the car and you just go, right?
For sure. Well, I I do pick up and just get in the car. Someone else plans, but that's what
Hey, somebody has to be the driver.
designated
and somebody has
roles,
to be
right?
The passenger, right?
Exactly. But so 2024 started out with like a dream of going to like as many places as possible. We were like, okay, like let's do 24 countries this year, which like we didn't get close to. But we decided to go for it and do what we could. And that started with our first trip to Guatemala. We hiked a volcano, Acatanago, and that was just a mesmerizing experience, just watching lava like spew from the volcano. It was absolutely beautiful. And then it was like, okay, like I was still working at the time, I was still in my job, and I was like, okay, what can we do this summer with a job? And I was like, road trip. We could road trip. And I mean, in the past we went to 32 countries while I still had a job. I was working like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in Japan. Like it was just nuts, like the hours I was working. But we were like, let's road trip. And so we decided, okay, let's hit the rest of the 50 states. It was a goal of ours to see everything we could. And we thought, what better way to do it? And honestly, the only one we missed was Hawaii.
Oh, no.
Which we got back in 2021. So other than that, we were like, let's just go road trip. And it started with that dream, and we went for it.
Yeah.
But also I have to credit our dog Rizzo because
your sweet pup
yeah.
who's on the journey with you
Yep,
guys.
he is. And he used to be such a big car dog. But after the road trip, he would sometimes get in the back seat and just like, he'd be a little mad.
Really?
He'd let us know. He'd be like, get me out of this car.
I can't do another 6 hours.
Yeah. Like, I get it. But no, it was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And it came down to just the planning process was, okay, like how can we do this? And we had a cruise right in the middle of the trip. So we were like, okay, let's do a first loop. We're going to go all the way to the Midwest and then loop back. And then the second loop's the East Coast for fall foliage. And so that was kind of our mindset with it. And we made it work. We just were like, okay, we're going here today. And some days we'd stay extra. Some days we'd skip a state and just keep going. But at the end of the day, it was all part of the journey. There was a little bit of unplanned timing with it, which makes things spontaneous. It makes it so much more like memorable because we're just doing things every day that we never would have thought we were going to do, and it just makes life so much more like bliss. It was awesome.
Now, Jordyn, you mentioned that you were the go-to for your friends as far as cheap flights. I followed your journey all through social media when you guys were on your travels. And what I thought was really cool is that you would recap each state, essentially what gas costs, what campgrounds cost, what food costs. Would you say this was a budget-friendly way to travel the US, or was that intentional?
Okay, so summer 2023, we were in Europe the whole summer. And then summer 2024, we road tripped. And so we did a couple of videos where we compared the cost breakdown for both of them. And I think the road trip ended up being slightly cheaper for 2 people, which was pretty mind-boggling. But I think what it came down to was that in the US, you can find a lot of like BLM land or like free places to stay. Whereas in Europe, the prices averaged about $25 per person per night. So that was really the biggest difference. But then obviously we spent so much money on gas on the road trip. But yeah, it definitely is a budget friendly way. And that's something we try and push on our site a lot, is that a lot of times you think of travel as something really expensive, but it actually can be pretty budget friendly. I mean, we've done international trips. For instance, we went to Japan for 2 weeks and we only paid, including flights, it was $1,200 a person.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is like, that's pretty good.
That's very good.
Yeah. And then for us traveling during the summer, I think our average costs were about $1,500 a month for both of us. So, I mean, like, it can definitely be a pretty budget friendly thing to do, especially if you want to see a lot of the US in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So from all the countries you've been to, all parts of the United States you've been to, Mesa's home for you guys. Literally, you could live anywhere, but you choose my hometown, born and raised here, of Mesa, Arizona. Please expand on this, because it's not what people would probably expect, right?
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. We've had this discussion a million times.
And you guys have a fun backstory too of how you landed in Mesa. So please share that.
Yeah. So when my whole family first moved to Mesa, we stayed at one little apartment complex in downtown Mesa for like, I think a month. And it was just like an Airbnb. We stayed there and then we went our ways in East Mesa. So after that, we went to school. We ended up living in the bus, and then we came back to Mesa. So when we came back to Mesa, we ended up living in the exact same apartment complex as when I first came for a month when I first moved here. That was kind of funny in its own, just being brought back to the exact same place. But also, we really fell in love with it for a million reasons. But I think our biggest is like he kind of touched on the community, but they have like, well, obviously you guys know, you probably put it on all of the markets and stuff. We love that. We're a big fan of it. We love bringing our dog for walks downtown. And also, as we were looking for a new place to live at the end of last summer, that's something else we were talking about too, is just like the walkability and accessibility to like downtown Phoenix, to the airport. But for us, what's really important is having a nice place to walk around at night. We walk our dog a lot.
He deserves it.
Yes, he deserves it. But we walk our dog a lot. And so we love having a little downtown area to walk through. And it's just not even comparable to like Tempe or downtown Phoenix, because I don't know. It's just like like this is a small town feel. Like everywhere else just feels so big, which is good for some people, but we like the small town. And we were also really looking for accessibility to the airport, and we love having the light rail. So that was a no-brainer for us every time we go to the airport, because our family is sick of us being like,
they're like,
"Please
you're
drive us
always
to the
gone."
airport." Yeah, please drive us to the airport. No, we can just take the light rail down to the airport, which we love. Also, weather-wise, we always say this everywhere we go. We're like, this is a cool town. I'm like, but this is a horrible summer, and then it's so cold in the winter too.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like, okay, the summer's a little hot, but the rest of the year is so perfect.
So you'll take a dry heat over the humidity.
Literally any day.
Yeah.
And like most of the time we're not here during summer, but we get to enjoy the entire winter. We hike a lot.
Okay.
And we love being close to the superstitions.
Yeah.
That's something that's really hard to find. I mean, like obviously there's places everywhere, but
Not
like
a 20-minute drive.
no,
though,
not in 20
sometimes,
minutes.
you know?
And also like I don't want to hike Camelback every day.
Literally. I mean, it's like, it's nuts. Like literally we love baseball.
Yeah.
The accessibility to spring training is absolutely insane. Literally like Sloan Park, and then you have Hohokam like right down the street from downtown Mesa, the heart of Mesa. Like you can jump on the light rail, then get to the airport. Like it's so easy. Like literally the easiest trek we've done. Like compared to anywhere, like the transportation here is unbeatable. Like the accessibility from here to other areas and just getting to the airport in and out like within like 30 minutes, you can't find that anywhere. Like in such a small town, like you can go north and go to like a mountain town, sure, but it does not compare in that way of like you're like in the city, but you still get those community small town vibes.
When you guys are here, whatever time you do spend in the summertime, what are some activities that you guys enjoy doing in Mesa?
Well, I have to say, we've actually sold our friends on Mesa a lot because of all the
Really?
activities. They used to always be like, oh, I don't want to drive down to Mesa. But then once we brought them down a couple of times, they really started liking it. Like I said, we hike a lot. And that is one way we really get our friends out here, because we always say like,
Horse them with some like
exactly.
beers and some good hiking.
Exactly. So we'll do a hike in the morning, and then we'll go to downtown Mesa and have a nice lunch with them. And
There
they
you go.
always love it. We really liked when we paddleboarded the Salt River I guess last summer at this point, but it was really fun. Like we go Salt River tubing every year, but we never actually like kayaked it before.
Okay.
And then once we started doing that,
It's a game changer.
Yeah, we couldn't stop.
It's totally
doing it.
different.
Yeah.
Like it's a full-on investment, but it's so worth it.
It's so worth it.
But the morning on the water, like there's nothing like
Yes.
it. Literally just like the cliffs like lighting up with that sparkly orange, and then all of a sudden there's like wild horses. What?
I know. Where else are
Where
you
am
finding
I right
that?
now? Yeah,
in 20
literally.
minutes from your front door.
Literally.
You know?
And so that's what we tell all of our friends. Literally, we're like, okay, like where do you guys want to go to eat? We're like, well, we can go to my house, we can hang out, have a few drinks, and then we can walk downtown. Like, and people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, pretty crazy, right? And they're like, wow, that's nuts. So we do that, and then it's like baseball games. It just comes down to like the accessibility, like I said. But summer specifically, like when we're doing stuff in the summer, like it's just like there's so much. Like you can go from restaurant to shops in the downtown area. You can go on the Salt River, go tubing or kayaking. Saguaro Lake. Like you can just connect to so much nature, but also connect to so much city all within like 20 minutes.
Now, wintertime, I know because of our temperatures here, a lot of activities are transseasonal. Is that a
Yeah,
word?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
You can use them throughout multiple seasons. What are some of your favorite winter activities when you're in the valley?
My favorite winter activity is ice skating. I really love when you guys put out the ice skating rink. Like, I'm literally there every day.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, I show up every time with like, I just have my own skates and I go there for a couple of hours. But yeah, I drag him probably too much. That's like my favorite thing in the wintertime. Well, and then hiking too, and biking, and we roller skate a lot.
Okay.
And I really love how like the streets are never too busy downtown, so we roller skate a lot down here too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of downtown, what are a couple of your guys' favorite hotspots down here, restaurants wise? You're foodies,
Ooh,
but
we are
tell me
foodies.
about the good places to go.
For sure. So like one of our go-tos is 12 West. It's like right in the heart of downtown. There's good drinks, there's good food. Like we always have baseball games on, so that's good. But then also like Cider Core. Oh my gosh, like such a good vibe there. Like, and they have the pizza there.
Mike's Pizza.
Yeah, Mike's
Yep.
Pizza. Literally such good vibes in there. Like great drinks, good vibes, good people. And then right downtown, what else do you have? You have
My favorite is mangoes. I really like
Ooh,
mangoes. They have the best
yes.
salsa. I think it's so delicious.
there's so much worth. Like
Can
I
we just
name
get a map
favorite?
and name all of them?
Goes Chihuahuas, like gosh, let me try them all. I don't know. It is. It's like monthly. We'll try and like we go out like once or twice, and we'll just try one of the new places or like because there's new ones coming all the time, and like
And the options are endless. It's not just a straight shot of like Mexican food or American food. It's literally everything you could want down here.
Goat and ram. I love goat and ram.
Goat and
So
ram is so
good.
good.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, I don't know. We eat probably way too much food when we go places, but that's like kind of how we judge like not the quality of a place, but like it's
Sure.
really like cultural when you go places. Like there's always locals out and it's just I don't know, it's fun. We really like that.
Yeah. Now, just a couple wrap up questions.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously convincing people to come here, hang out with you guys, and enjoy Mesa. But tell me like 3 things that you would tell a visitor that they maybe don't know about Mesa that you'd like them to know before they came here.
I would definitely like them to know how close the superstitions are. I think that was like an absolute game changer when our friends started realizing how close it was. And our house kind of quickly became the hub for all of the activities. But then also like how diverse Mesa is. Like Mesa is huge. I don't think a lot of people realize how big it is. And there's so much stuff to do. Like if you literally you can name an activity and you can find it in Mesa. And then the food. The food is just like we love the food here.
literally.
And it's probably annoying to our friends because every time they want to go out, we're like, downtown Mesa.
At least you have a good spot in mind every
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
right?
Plus another one that's notable, I feel like the events. Like that's something that's so hard to find in like bigger cities, and being able to have the accessibility to that, to just being able to go out and look at a calendar and be like, oh, there's an event downtown tonight. They're playing live music, or oh, First Friday's going on, or Second Saturday. It's like, wow, I can go do something without having to spend $1,000 to go do it. Like you can literally find free activities, fun activities right in the heart of downtown. So it's so nice.
I'm sold and I live here. Well, you guys, what does the future of mobile homie look like for you guys? You're constantly going to be traveling, but what does that future hold?
You know, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, for sure.
I think our plans are constantly changing. Our biggest thing is we love educating people and we love bringing value to our audience. And I think we really just want to continue that. Like we just want to keep sharing our travel experiences and we want to keep sharing kind of how other people can travel affordably too. That is seriously our biggest thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest things too, like Mesa is going to be our home base this next year, which is nice. Like we don't have really long travel plans. We're going to be doing 2-week trips here and there. We have Southeast Asia on the list, Scotland, and a couple others, which is just so exciting. But we're so excited to actually like put our boots on the ground and get to work, grow the mobile homie in Mesa. So like that's one of the biggest things too.
Well, we're excited to have you guys. Truly, it's amazing, incredible to see what you guys are doing. We love, and I can truly feel like the love and passion you guys have for Mesa, and what better representatives to have be able to talk about our sweet little city, right? Now, can you tell our followers where they can follow along on your guys' journeys?
Yeah, absolutely. We're on Instagram, TikTok, everything, primarily on Instagram. And we are at The Mobile Homie. We have a website too, but Instagram is good.
Websites and works.
It's up. We have like a blog that we share itineraries on.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you are more interested in budget-friendly itineraries, there are lots of things on there. But we mostly focus on Instagram and we do a lot of our education on Instagram.
Awesome. And then what is that website?
Also, themobilehomie.com. Super easy.
Well, JT, Jordyn, thank you both so much for coming and hanging out today. We've had so much fun and hopefully we'll get to chat again soon about some more traveling.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Check us out on all forms of social media. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Tell me